If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction. Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
Jerome Piper, Executive Director of Aspire Counseling Services, Fresno. Thank you for joining Executive Director of PAIN, Flindt Andersen, and myself, Jason LaChance, here on the Don't Hide the Scars podcast.
Hey, thanks for
all of a sudden a lull right there, huh, Jerome?
Yeah, that was you. That was you.
Okay.
Of course, we want to talk your story of recovery, which is phenomenal. Of course, we've become friends through that. But before we got rolling here, I mean, Flindt and yourself were having an amazing conversation about some of the biggest battles that we're facing with treatment nowadays and generally trying to help people, and that's our under 18.
Right.
What are some of the complications, especially that you're seeing and coming up against that's, pulling out your hair and just driving you a little mad there?
Well, I think a lot of ambivalence, a lot of, denial of,
Sure.
The addiction, and then, once it's full-blown and using the, hard narcotics, it's trying to find that higher level of care, which we were speaking about earlier, which is difficult for, trying to place someone under 18.
Right.
There's limited options out there for that demographic.
And what really, to let the listener know, are we bumping up against, Flindt? What's some of the primary stuff? We talk a lot about the complications with insurance. Of course, I'm assuming parental rights. What are,
Well, I think there's a number of issues dealing with minors, and one of them is just that it's a minor. Most treatment centers literally don't take minors for legal reasons.
Right.
It can be a nightmare to try to get licensed to deal with minors. Look, there's a number of things I could talk about with the minor, but I always go back to is it dependency, is it experimentation,
right,
or is it full-blown addiction?
Sure.
with a minor? And a lot of times parents will go, geez, I got to get my kid into treatment. And I'm sitting there going, well, let's determine what it is first, before we make a phone call here. Because look, we all know that addiction is it's something that is not curable.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're starting out somebody in treatment at 16 or 17 years of age, and everybody thinks that once they go through a treatment center, they're going to be fine. And the fact of the matter is no, since there's no cure, they're going to be dealing with this the rest of their lives. And so relapse is almost inevitable,
right, with
a 16 or 17-year-old.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons, but again, getting a minor in is just a nightmare.
Well, and I know, Jerome, we've talked about, when people think about the 16, 17-year-old, we're talking pre-high school graduation. And I know this was for you as well, Flindt. We had to change our environment. So if you're plucking it back into an environment, this teen, let's say they do get any kind of help and they're right back in a school setting, sometimes hard to help them create those tools because we're going through so many insecurities, so many changes with our mind, our hormones, body, everything, trying to figure out where a place in the world is. And I would imagine that is one of the biggest challenges that in addition to, obviously, as we talk, the insurance and getting all that care.
Well, and what I like about Jerome and Aspire is the fact that they do have an adolescent program. So when I see something like that, and what I love about it is that at minimum they're planting the seed.
Right.
Sure.
They're planting the seed of recovery in a 16 or 17-year-old. So at some point, even if that individual relapses, there's something in the back of their head that is going to go, oh, I learned this at some point.
Yes.
Right, Jerome?
Yes. So what you have is, you're trying to negate, right? Because you have this rite of passage for a lot of teenagers. And so what you want to do is debunk that, that rite of passage and give them the skills. And like you said, at some point, if you keep providing the education, which is prevention, because I don't think that any adolescent that I've ever met, I can say is a full-blown addict. I would say, maybe someone going through, the stages to becoming an addict. Right. But, what we want to do is provide them the prevention with the skills, the education, and what that looks like. It's going to look different for each adolescent that you encounter. But to be able to give them, the framework to kind of go in those situations, because they're going to put themselves in those situations because it's, it's prom night, or it's, these different things that come up, graduation, and that sort of thing. So being able to educate and plant that seed, like you said, and that's our motto at Aspire: planting seed, saving lives. Right. And so you plant that seed, and it's up to the individual to water that seed, but hopefully that you save a life in the long run.
Is it challenging from both of your experiences? I mean, we're talking 16, 17-year-olds that A, they think they're invisible, and B, some have this perception that life is long and or I'll never be that old, of really embracing abstinence from substances as their life goes forward. I would think, especially with kids with some lineage of it, that's one of the hardest things to get to stick is, wait, you mean I can never try this drug again? I can, or whatever.
I don't know about you, but that's one of the biggest things I've ever faced with a 16-er. Hell, I've experienced that with 25-year-olds. Right. I mean, so imagine a 16 or 17-year-old going, I can never drink again. Yeah. I can't go to a party. I can't smoke a joint. I can't, I can't. Well, no, you can't. But what are the chances of that even happening? Right. Slim and none.
Yeah.
So it's really just my approach, I would say, is celebrating any time they get, staying in the moment, taking it one day. We're not worried about tomorrow. We're not worried about yesterday. We're worried about what you're doing today, and really staying in the moment. And any time that a kid gets, really celebrating that, and really, because if you got a kid that abstains for X amount of days, that should be should be celebrated. Sure. And that's something that's different from, it's like, oh, if you relapse. No, relapse is an opportunity for that kid to learn something from that. And sometimes you'll meet individuals or adolescents that light bulb comes on, and they can tell you exactly what led up to it, what it learns, and so then now that they're attaining the skills, because obviously they're going to experiment, they're going to use, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing, and so being able to kind of come at it at that angle, I think gives you an opportunity to have maybe some success moving forward.
Sure, but again, it goes back to what we talk about in experimentation today. What Jerome said was absolutely perfect. Sure. But experimenting today can kill you. Mm-hmm. That hey, they haven't used in a year, let's say, right? And they're at some party. They just graduated from high school. They're now at Fresno State. They're at a party at a fraternity house, and somebody gives them a pill that they think is a Xanax, and the thing's laced with fentanyl. Yeah. And they don't come back from that. Right. That's one side of it. The other side of it is, we all know that we always talk about the brain function and the fact that brain does not become mature till the age of 26. Without drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. There's that danger zone that I call it between the ages of 18 and 26, where that brain is not fully there yet. Right. And so they still have the invincibility thing going on. They've got the Superman complex. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm not going to die. Even though they may have known 2 or 3 people that have died, it's still not going to happen to me. And then boom. Yeah. That's what happens.
Well, and we had recently, I don't know if you caught it, Jerome, Michelle Leopold on, who, her son, we were talking about, Flindt had a great conversation with her about, marijuana, the gateway drug, because it's not our granddad's pot anymore.
You mean it's not my pot?
Yeah, it's not your. No, it's not even my pot anymore, Flindt. It's like, I'm seeing, the crazy things of some of the youth that I know, younger 20s, and the dabbing and all these different things. It's a high amount of THC that they're getting into their system and affecting that brain. And
let me just interrupt for a second, because when you said that, it reminded me of what I saw. We posted something on it about the kids that were at XYZ school. They went in their backpack and they found Cheetos bag, and the label on it had 600 milligrams of THC.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's
insane.
Yes.
Yeah, what happened to the days? Look, I just want to have a snack and go to bed.
I want to eat a bowl of Twinkies and just chill.
Yeah, this is. I'm going to take off my clothes, running down the street, thinking I'm on fire stuff, and we don't mean to. We're making light of it, but it's true.
It's true.
The magnitude of now what is out there and readily available, let alone what is legal and not illegal.
The potency, the potency of all this stuff.
Yeah, it's so insane. Glamorized but it goes back to my original point, prevention and education. Yeah. So like at Aspire, we're part of a state-funded program that provides Narcan, and one of the goals I have is getting out that Narcan out to the communities that's free, and trying to get it, like you're saying, trying to get it to the frat houses and the first responders, all at different organizations, because that could be the difference. That should be something that every business has, because you never know. You can go outside and see someone overdosing, and to have that, you just
Yeah, we have it here at Payne. We have the same contract with the Narcan people, because we believe that like an EpiPen or a fire extinguisher, it needs to be in every business, every household, every movie theater, every frat house. I don't care where it is, but I got to tell you, there were years when I didn't agree with that.
And why is that?
Things have changed, obviously, because of fentanyl. But I don't know, 8 years ago or so, maybe less, 6 years ago, I was at the National Drug Conference in Atlanta. And there was a debate on whether Narcan should be just kept with first responders or given to the general public. And this is pre-fentanyl. And so there was a group of moms from the Boston area that were sitting there, and of course they were all for it. And I was just in the audience. I wasn't part of the panel, but of course I can't keep my mouth shut, and I had to walk up to the mic. And so I looked at these ladies, and I said it with all due respect. I said, "Ma'am," I said, "how old's your son?" 25. I said, "Lives with you?" Yes. "Do you pay for his cell phone?" Yes. "Do you feed him?" Yes. "Do you clothe him?" Yes. "Does he drive your car?" Yes. "Is it his car?" No. "Do you pay for his insurance?" Yes. I said, "Oh, and you're allowing him to use heroin in your house." I said, "Can I move in?" I said, I'm a recovering drug addict, but why would your son want to change?
Yeah.
Because you are providing everything for him. Now you're allowing him. Oh, and he still has brothers and sisters there too. I said, do you realize the danger you are causing by him in your house? Now, today's a different story because of fentanyl. Because of what we're facing, I am a huge proponent of Narcan being given. But in the old days, I wasn't at all. Jerome, I'm kind of a hard ass when it comes to some of this stuff. So
you gotta be.
You gotta draw the line in the dirt. You don't stand for anything, you fall for everything.
Right.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top-quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50-plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt, Andersen, and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery. To proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
So when you started your substance use, Bakersfield, if I remember correctly.
Salt Lake City.
You were in Salt Lake City, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think because you and I are close to the same age. I mean, we got the DARE program. We got the just say no. But do you really think we got a good amount of education?
No.
Especially with abstinence as the ultimate alternative.
No, I think, with the DARE program, I remember that had the DARE shirt. Yeah. It was trendy,
Right.
But it was.
They brought in all the ex-gang guys or the prisoners from,
But nothing that was, was tangible, nothing stuck. And so now I think, like I said, with the fentanyl epidemic, you're able to provide the prevention. People are more open to it. But It's prevention and education, because what you don't know, and you don't have an example of. I mean, if somebody would have gave me an example of, like, this is what's going to happen, this is what it make you feel like, and then this is what's going to happen, then you have a sample, and you're able to maybe sit back and say, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the environment like for you at the time when you first started substance use?
It was party. I was, I played college sports and was an athlete, and it was just party. Go to Vegas, and that sort of thing. And it was just more of like having a good time. And then didn't realize, it escalated, right?
Sure.
So you didn't realize, once you got to some hard like methamphetamine, like, oh, this is not so much. And then what happens is life catches up to you. You have a couple of kids, have a couple of responsibilities. Now you have some trauma, because I don't care what you say, you're going to feel bad for not living up for your obligations. And then now you got this drug here where you can go and, I can just kind of, block everything out by using this substance. And
escape it all.
Yes.
And it creates that ultimate snowball effect, because escape it all, but then when you come out of it, life and responsibility.
I didn't escape nothing. Okay, I didn't escape nothing, because at the end, everybody was waiting in line for my ass. Okay, I mean, the bill collectors, my wife, but holy Moses, it was, there was no escaping.
Yeah. Well, and you went through that. You went through marriage. You could father through.
Yeah. So I was married. I had a daughter and a son in my previous marriage, and that's where my addiction really took off. And I missed valuable time and valuable experiences with them because of my addiction and my choices in that addiction. However, recovery and sobriety is the peace of mind you get in sobriety. You can't put a dollar amount on.
That's right.
And I've been able to, I went and saw my daughter recently, and we had like our first daughter daddy lunch, and she gave me the business. She unloaded on me. Let me tell you, it was. But being able to sit there, and it's because of the skills I gained in my recovery. I'm able to sit there. I'm able to take that. And not invalidate how she's feeling, and that's because of of my recovery and the program I'm working. And it was good. The whole time, the whole trip, she was riding in the back seat. I'm like, am I a chauffeur? I haven't chauffeured in years, right? And by the end of the trip, she was sitting in the front, and I was like, God is good, And so, but that's doing the work, And there's still a lot more work to be done. But I'll tell you this: anything that you think you lost in your addiction, recovery will give you it back tenfold.
Yeah,
all day long.
And I think that's important that you mentioned still a lot more work to be done. Because Flindt, I know you and I've had this, especially with parents, trying to not help them understand. Look, yes, 30 days we might be able to detox, 90, 120, but it's going to take longer for them to not only come back, but have a desire to find a sense of identity, let alone go and build a life. And the life that you build there isn't a finish line set. Good, I've crossed it, great. All right, recovery's done. This is a lifelong process that we got to work every damn day. And I don't know how we can pound that into people's mind.
Right, and here's what's interesting is, and I don't know why this just came to my head, but we're talking about kind of 16, 17-year-olds, and then if they do find recovery somewhere, right? And changing, because what do we have to change about ourselves in recovery? That's everything, right? That's just simply everything. A, how does somebody that young change everything? And B, I hope this makes sense. Most of these kids that I deal with and their parents, the kids are trying to become what their parents want them to be.
Sure.
Right.
How do you go and change your addiction, your behavior in substance abuse, and change and try to figure out what you actually want to be instead of what your parents want you to be?
Yeah. That's hard.
That's just got to be unbelievably tough.
I mean, I can't imagine at that age because, as you both know, with my recovery, really putting the work in over the last 2.5, 3 years in my 40s, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, who do I want to be? What do I want my life to look like, let alone, for someone that is younger that has yet to be out there and be tested.
Mm-hmm. Well, understanding that, I always tell all the young people that come in that we're helping you make your foundation,
sure.
Not ours, not
right.
your parents, your foundation. And so that's the thing, that's what they're doing in those years. They're setting a foundation that's going to set them up for the rest of their life, and talking about that and having those conversations, because when I was that age, no one had a conversation like you're going to be a father one day. And so being able to have those conversations with the kids, like you might be a mother, you might be a father, and what kind of foundation, because you're going to have to provide, what foundation. And if you're going to build your foundation on drugs and alcohol, let me tell you, it's going to be a flimsy one. And so being able to kind of have those open-ended conversations, I think, are key, because a lot of kids, all they hear is this is what the pressures are, and being able to listen, having them make a list of, so what are your pressures, and doing the disadvantages and advantages of using as it relates to, the pressures that are on them. So,
do you guys think that parents are actually setting their kids up to fail without them even realizing it?
Oh, that's
a loaded question.
I will say yes in a lot of ways, because
unintentionally.
Yeah, unintentionally. I think I got a lot of it, and kind of being a latchkey kid, a lot of figure this shit out,
right.
Which was ultimate independence. And my parents did the best with what they could. But I think a lot of parents now, Flindt, it reminds me of what you just said about the mom, 25-year-old in the house, providing everything, of being the friend as opposed to the parents. I mean, our job is to get them geared so that they can go out in the world and have independence, self-reliance, know how to deal with certain situations, but at the same time know, hey, you're struggling, guess what? I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. I'm here for you, but this is stuff that you're going to have to navigate. And I think there's too much codependency, really.
Oh yeah.
That latching on to child for identity, and that doesn't break that cycle of that. There's so many parents that just know them. I'm so and so's parent, and
right.
And a lot of facades or things could be put on, and at the end of the day, it's like you're not going to be here forever. So you better prepare your children to get out there in the world and be a positive contribution to the best of their ability, because we all screw up. Right. We're all going to make some mistakes. But hey, I mean, 3 guys in recovery, we know amends is a big part of it, and it doesn't necessarily go the way maybe we tell ourselves in our head.
Yes.
Some people take the door and slam it in your face, but you put the effort out there.
Right. Right.
So that's my take.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I just think that, the sooner that you can assess a young person's mental health needs, because I think a lot of stuff is already there, prior. And so, a parent always going to want the best for their kids. Now, the best I want for my kids and what they do is 2 totally different things. But, always, being aware of what's there, because I think that, most of the stuff that I'm dealing with today as an adult has been there since I was young. And it's, if you don't deal with it now, you're going to deal with it, in the future. So you got to, try to prioritize your mental health. And I think that's a great thing, given that this month is, coming to the end, but it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and those things are very important to assess.
Mm-hmm. When you say some of the things that you dealt with as a kid, I can relate. Still the same. What are some of those challenges that I didn't meet my dad till I was 42, and not having that, that security you get from having your father. There's certain things that a father puts into their son, and then I have to deal with that on a bigger scale, because I'm not there for my son. So there's
there's things that I do, and it's just like, is this the way it's supposed to be? Is this the way it is? And so it's a lifelong work, and I would urge anybody to be a part of a multi self-help group and do those things. Yeah. Whatever those things involve, if it's working the steps or having a sober mentor and just getting involved in that community, because that internal work is going to be important, because then you can identify all those shortcomings, all those inaccuracies, and then you can accept them, because I think that we can't get rid of those things. But if I can understand my cycles, I can understand what I'm doing and recognize them, then maybe I can, cut them, as they say, cut them off at the pass. And so that's can be important.
Well, and you did do that, especially with your youngest daughter. I mean, yes. When we first got to know each other, what moved me the most, if you could kind of give us the brief picture of how it was.
I'll get a brief. So, had a daughter. She was born in my addiction. She was pos-tox. She was born December 23rd, and CPS moved her out of my care for concerns of safety December 24th, and a month later, January 27th, 2017, I was able to get clean. But it was one of those, I always say it's a self-check moment, because, just imagine, having a newborn baby girl and you don't know where she's at on Christmas Day, and you're just left to your thoughts and this drug. And so that was, it was kind of traumatic. And I had vowed to myself that, I'm going to get that child back. And 8 months after getting her back, I moved into the Bakersfield Homeless Center. And a month later, I got a job with their jobs program, and was able to, and it's kind of crazy moving to Fresno. I see these guys picking up trash, and sometimes on the freeway, and sometimes I want to pull over and say, just keep doing what you're doing, because that's what I was doing. I was picking up trash. I was picking up trash, and it's an interesting story. I got to tell it. So I'm picking up trash one day on the side of the freeway. I got my wallet here, and I got a coach that coached me at College of Sequoias. His name is Herb Pankey, and in the trash, it was in the trash, and I was like, Coach Pankey, and this was down there in the trash. His card, and that's how I knew. No kidding. I knew I was on the right path.
You were on the right path. Wow.
Because Irv used to always, when I was at COS, he used to always get on me. You know what I mean? And so I found that, and I just then in that moment, I knew I was on the right path.
You bet.
And I started school at Cal State Bakersfield, and and the rest is, as they say, history. And I get to give back and help people.
You bet.
Well, that gave me chills.
Yeah, it did.
That's one of them God shots for sure.
That's exactly what it is.
One of the things that Jerome's helped me about with Flindt is really that I struggled as far as a higher power, not in the believing part, but that I was worthy of being loved. And so that's one of the things through our friendship I don't think I've ever told you that's really helped me. He's pretty good about sending me a little daily message of some kind, putting it out there. Like, hey, keep going.
Right.
And you did, because now you're raising your daughter, your youngest, and building that relationship with your other two kids.
Yes.
How old's your youngest?
She's 5.
She's 5.
Cute and sassy.
Yeah, I bet.
Personality. That one. Independent. Like, this is what we're doing today. What? Okay.
You're just along for the ride now.
It's her world. I just live in it.
That's it. You're an actor on her stage.
Yeah. We were on the phone one night, late at night. She didn't want to, I think it was get dressed after a bath or whatever it was.
I give her the bath at night. It's like, here, you're 5. You can put this stuff on. She's like, nah, I think it's your turn to put my pajamas on. Okay, I got you.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So how did you end up that transition? I mean, just a true example that someone can build a life now in the recovery community and working with Aspire.
Yeah, it's just you gotta align your goals. What do you want? And I knew I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I wanted something other than that life. I didn't want the street life. I didn't want living in and out of hotels. I want to be able to provide for my kids and make amends where I need to make amends. So it's just it's just a fight. I'll tell anyone out there living on the streets or whatever you got going on, you can change.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be glamorous. It's not going to be something you see on the movies, but it's going to be work. You know, it may be if you say you didn't graduate high school, it's going to the adult school and starting over, get your GED, you know, completing a program. Some people, I don't need a program, I don't really use like that. No, completing something, you know, setting your goals. You go in a program, you complete it, you show yourself you can do it, and then there's so many services out there that provide funding, you know, that you have to, and then the main thing is humility, humble. You know, I was a man going into the homeless center, and I was like, this is not it. I can't do this. I wanted to leave there every day, but I didn't leave there because I had a reason, obviously my daughter, but it's being humble, you know, being humble. I was on Section 8, and that was one of those things like, oh my, you know, like I'm on Section 8, like it could have been negative, but it was like, you know what, I'm gonna work my tail off and get off Section 8, and I think I got off Section 8 in like a year and a half, and
perfect.
And, you know, and I pay all my own bills, you know, and I didn't have a car. I was on a bus. Let me tell you this story. One time I was going to Catholic Charities, and they give you food, and so I got this 5-month-old baby, and I go and get this bag of food, and it's canned goods, and I'm on the bus. Never do that. I got the baby in the stroller, and I got this bag of canned goods. But the awesome thing about it was I was part of a program down in Kern County called Waste Hunger, Not Food. And I was able to tell them, like, you know, hey, this is, you know, it was a pilot program, now it's fully running up there. And I was able to tell them, like, you know, you got to get the food to the people where they're at. You know, just imagine going, how demoralizing it is to go and get this canned food and trying to take it back to your house, and you're on the bus. And so now they got, you know, different churches and places where people can go in their neighborhood and get this food that people give away. So, you know, being able to just humble myself and participate in those programs. So it's all humility and being grateful, because I got to do all that, and I get to do this today. And I'm very grateful, and I'll always give back. Always.
The humble piece of this is extremely important.
Oh God, yes.
And most of us are not.
Should we all raise our hand?
It's a big club, you know. But the other thing I was thinking about during this thing is, and it's something that Bree brought up the other day.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. With sex and addiction, she was bringing up the movies.
Yeah.
And how the movies are telling us something different when it comes to love, right? And somehow I was just thinking about some recovery movies, 28 Days, The Basketball Diaries, you know, several of these things. And it really doesn't give you the full picture. It doesn't, you know, 28 Days. I mean, I like the movie, okay, but in the end, Sandra Bullock, you know, standing there with soon to be her ex, you know, she's petting that horse, trying to lift that leg up, right? And it kind of just shows her at the end breaking up with the guy and just kind of walking off into the sunset. But there's nothing about what she's about to go through from that point on, because she just got out of treatment.
Yep.
That's the hard part. Okay, everybody thinks, oh, she made it. You know, and if somebody's, you know, still using and they see that movie, oh, well, hell, all I have to do is go through a 30-day program and everything's going to be fine. No, that's not the way this stuff works. It's years, months and years before you can even figure out what day it is.
Yeah. Right. I think the best movie that did it, from my point of view, is Clean and Sober with Michael Keaton.
That was good.
Because it shows him through the treatment, and I don't remember if it was a county treatment. You know, Morgan Freeman was the head guy there, and he was a hard ass on him, as he should be, but it dealt with the after fact. You know, he had someone that was in there, you know, he fell for a gal that was in there. Well, she ends up dying because she's using, gets in a car accident, and, you know, I love the ending. To spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, you know, he's in there giving his speech, which, you know, those of us that have gone to a 12-step do, and, you know, I think it was his month chip, and, you know, thanks for this chip after he's in tears and everything else, and at the time people smoke in the meeting and it's full of smoke, and, you know, and thank you for not smoking, but it was okay.
By the way, you just dated me.
Why?
Because we used to smoke in meetings.
but it left. I thought it did a good job of painting the picture. Look, it's not over. He just started the way it ended. And I, if anybody listening, watching, I encourage you, if you're going to watch one and you want more of a picture, that's a good one. Clean and Sober with Michael Keaton. But
or you could go to the opposite end and watch Body Brokers.
Oh gosh.
And have you seen that one, Jerome?
I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, before you leave, we're going to give you this movie to watch.
Okay.
All right. Because at the end of Body Brokers, of course, I don't want to, spoiler alert,
Sure.
but it really gives the whole movie is about the downside of treatment and what is going on in treatment today. And I just want to say, for the record, not every treatment center is like that.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of them that are.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just don't know why my brain went there.
Jerome, what shoes you got on today?
I got on the Allen Iverson, James Harden.
That's important because
why is that important?
You were homeless with one shoe.
Yeah.
One
bunch of socks on the other foot.
Bunch of socks on the other foot. And the reason I point that out is it's a sign of the life that you've built for yourself over the last 5 years.
Yes.
Go from one shoe, bunch of socks on the other foot, now where you're at, an executive director and being of service.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Recovery is possible, but understanding that, like you were touching on, the bill of sobriety is due every day. And it's not like rent, it's due once a month, it's due every day. And you gotta, if you're not working on recovery, you're working on a relapse. And you gotta find a routine and you gotta stick to it, and if you do have a routine and you're not sticking to it, then that's the beauty. You can recognize that, and then you can reevaluate and put the work where it needs to be. And that's the beauty of recovery. Is it's not your recovery, it's my recovery.
Right.
And so my recovery may not look like someone else's. It looks like how my God of my own understanding wants it to look, right? And I get to put those things in there and just being able to do the work, because only I can do it. And so
and I like what you said about that it's my recovery, and I agree with that. Okay, I really do. We each have our own way of staying clean and sober. But it's for all of us. I really think there are some pieces to that recovery that mine's no different from yours is no different from yours, because it comes down to just a few different things. It comes down to being humble, being honest, right? Doing the work. But again, the humbleness, those are the important things. And so it's yours, but it's ours. I hope that's making sense.
It's individual, yet it's communal at the same time.
It is. There's not much that, at least that I've noticed over the years, that changes in one's recovery if you're doing it the right way.
Right. Well, you can't reinvent the wheel, and it's about community, and it does take a village. And forgive me for this statement, but I was in a meeting, I met an old timer.
Hey, I wear that with pride now.
So old timers shared, and I took something from it. Everything that I do, I didn't anything that I stated or anything that I do in my recovery, I didn't make it up. I got it from somebody.
And I got it from somebody as well. Right. Absolutely.
And I think if we work it however you work it daily, it's one of my favorite things that I hang on to is you will be restored to sanity. And I think that reoccurring thing, Flindt knows I had an incident recently. We hadn't spoken about this, a work environment, and I asked for a tonic and lime. That's my preventive drink, so nobody asked. Well, no, I got served a vodka tonic, took a big sip of that. Without thinking, that thing was in the garbage. And I was like, whoa. Okay, something's clicking now, because a few years ago it would have been, well, there it is. It's that process of you will be restored to sanity.
Yes.
And thank the Lord for that one.
You bet.
Flindt, anything else you want to throw in here, good sir?
I'll tell you what, this has been an absolute pleasure to get to know you, and proud of you for your time in recovery, man. You just keep it going, and just wonderful. You're a good man.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
If you want to tell people more about the work you do with Aspire Counseling Services.
Aspire Fresno, we are located at 7498 North Remington Avenue, Suite 102. So basically, we are an IOP for adolescents, a PHP, and IOP for adults. If you want to go ahead and give us a call, it's 888-585-7373, and that is our 24-hour 1-800 line, and someone is always on that line. You can go to aspirecounselingservice.com, and there's a virtual chat, and someone's always responding to messages, and you can give me a call at 661-855-4208, and that's my direct line, and I'll do whatever I can to find you a placement or get you into treatment. It's all about being there and helping someone that wants to put their health and wellness at the front, find a place that they can heal and grow and get past that season in their life, and understanding that your addiction isn't like basketball or football season. It's a season that only comes around if you make the choices and decisions to have it come around. And what we'll do is we'll help you learn the skills and tools to not make those detrimental decisions and choices.
Perfect. Thank you, Jerome.
Thanks, Jerome.
Thank you.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page.